Broadcasting from the Teddy Belanger studio in Rome, New York. Welcome into episode 94 of the Avetts and Beyond. My name is Todd Emanuele. I've got Ryan Boyles across from me on the screen if you're watching on the YouTube. And we have a very special guest today. Excited for this one. He is an Irish folk music singer-songwriter, born and raised in Southeast Dublin, lived in Nashville for a bit, now based in Black Mountain, am I right with that? North Carolina?
That's the one.
That's where he is tonight. So Dylan Walshe is here. Dylan, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Well, thanks for having us, lads.
Absolutely. So first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, is that skull behind you real?
It is. It's got nothing to do with my life, though.
No.
It's got a bullet hole in the head. I wouldn't be able to do things like that to animals, man. You know, but it is ours.
So you had nothing to do with it, but it's there. It's real. So that's cool.
There was a purchase made by the wife. She wouldn't hurt an animal either, though. You know.
Interesting. Yeah. Was that like an anniversary present or something?
We traveled a lot. We've traveled all over the country, and every so often we'll just see something and we'll grab it. And most of the time we give them to friends. But if we end up keeping something that hangs around, that's been on the wall for a few years in different houses and locations. We've kept it, you know.
Literally hanging around. I like that. All right. So people on the radio are like, that are listening on the radio are like, what are we talking about here? But there's a skull behind you on the wall, and I noticed it.
I'm trying to make sure I don't do this.
Yeah.
Well, nice. I was like, what are you talking about? But then I saw it. I'm slow. I'm sorry. Been a long day.
Funny because I'll sit here at nighttime. We're up in the mountains, you know, and there's a window in front of me here. And when it's dark at nighttime, you just see the reflection of the skull in the window. You know, it's pretty ominous.
There you go.
Well, I think we should start by asking about just how are things going in Black Mountain with after Helene. Like I know you were right there in the middle of a lot of what happened after, during the storm, after the storm, and you've been showing a lot on your social media about what's been happening locally. So how are things now?
Functioning, most towns are okay because they're raised, so yeah, they're kind of up out of the water. I mean, most towns are functioning. The only town around here that would be really bad would be Swannanoa itself. It's pretty broken up.
I saw they just opened a bridge going through there just this week.
Yeah.
So it's still, things are still in recovery mode in some of those areas.
Yeah, it's going to take years, and some of it will never recover at all. It's changed forever. There's no question about it. But it takes time, and spring's coming, so there is an element of some sort of newness coming.
How long have you been in North Carolina now?
I've been here 2 years.
Okay.
A little over 2 years. I was in Nashville before that. I was there for 6 years. Before that, I was in London. Lived between London and Ireland for about a decade, really,
Yes.
4 years in England and then moving back,
You've been all over the place. Obviously, you're from Dublin. What made you, or did you always want to leave Dublin and come to the States? Is that something you always thought of?
Yeah, when I was a kid, all of my neighbors, when I used to move, I was so jealous. I was always wondering why we couldn't move somewhere, be somewhere else and see something new. So the minute I could, I did.
Now, was it the inner musician in you, do you think, before you even knew you were going to be a musician?
Way before that, yeah.
So you just, whatever you were going to do in life, you were going to do it over here.
Oh, well, long story short, America was on my mind, but I indirectly kind of moved here eventually. But no, I always wanted to. In fact, when I started playing music, I figured out that instead of working a job and saving money and traveling, that you could pretty much travel playing music. So it was more the traveling first. The music came after,
Yeah. Now, I read somewhere that you don't come from a musical family.
No. I mean, I came from a household that loved music, but not musicians. But my mother did teach me my first chord on the guitar.
Okay.
And my father did get a loan of a guitar for me, which was my first one. I was left.
That's where it all started. When did you know man, I'm good at this. This is something I can do.
I still don't know that.
That's
Oh,
the
come
eternal
on.
journey that you're on, right?
Yeah, I've gone a little bit more comfortable with it, but honestly, I was always a song person. I loved songs. I loved what was being said, how it was being said. I never really paid too much attention to the music other than how it made me feel. I didn't really break it down to who was doing what, you know. That came a lot later. I had a cousin who played guitar. He reluctantly showed me some guitar bits here and there whenever I could pester him enough. That was about it. But there was music in the family that I wasn't aware of. But I only found that out years later, you know. But I never met those people either.
So what was the first song that you remember hearing that inside went, you like decided I want to do this too? Do you remember?
Well,
Did that question make sense? I'm sorry. It made
no,
sense
it
in
does
my
make
head.
sense. Sorry, I'm not a very linear person, and if I don't answer your question directly, I do apologize. I'm a bit like that. I end up
All
coming
good.
back around, but I kind of spin off the different thoughts in my head. It's just how it is. No, when I was a kid, I used to like sit down and I guess you know the way kids would have storybooks and pictures.
Sure.
My parents' vinyl collection was mine. You know, I would sit down and ask them to put on records. I put on the headphones. I'd go to the record and try and follow along to what they were singing. You know, I probably wasn't even able to read very well, but I'd try and follow the lyrics in the back to see where they were. I remember listening to Sergeant Pepper's. I don't listen to the Beatles at all, but when I was a kid, I listened to Sergeant Pepper's over and over and over and over again. It was just like just a real world to get lost in, you know, with the headphones
Yeah,
on.
I love that album.
Another one was Creedence Clearwater Revival, and I had a few other select songs I would ask my parents to put on for as long as they would tolerate me, you know. But if they could put on a full record, they would just leave me there for a while. But my dad named me after Bob Dylan, and he would literally, like, you know, he'd put a record on, and if there was a good lyric or he said it a good way, he would stop the record and call me over and go, "Listen to how you did this," you know.
I love that. That's
That,
great.
that kind of stuff. So there wasn't like musicians as such, but it was they love music and they love songs especially. So did I.
That's huge though. It like set the path for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I was
They,
going to ask you if you were named after Bob Dylan. That's
yeah,
funny that you actually were.
yeah. My name Dylan Robert. My middle name is Bob as well.
Did you watch the biopic of Bob Dylan that just was out this year?
Yeah, I actually did. I had some hesitations, but I mean, I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, you did. Okay, yeah. I was talking to David Childers about this, and he really did not like. He like
Well,
was very anti biopic.
Really?
who I was 10 years ago would have hated it.
Yeah.
Who I am now, I accept it for what it is, and
Right.
it's a story. It's not about. It's not all
Yeah,
about.
that's true. That's true. Okay,
It's
that's
I
a good
haven't
point.
seen it yet.
I
I
know
gotta check that out.
enough about some of that stuff. I probably know too much to know from the get-go that it wasn't the truth.
Right. Yeah.
There were
Well, I
elements.
want to ask you another question about what I consider to be Hollywood, I guess. I saw that you opened for Billy Bob Thornton at some point. That just because I'm very much a movie film nerd, so I just have to know if there's any stories from that.
Not really. I opened for him a couple of times.
Yeah.
Not really. We hung out and chatted a little bit here and there, but nothing too exciting, really, to be honest.
Right.
No crazy story from that. I was expecting a crazy story with Billy Bob Thornton.
Well, you know, no. I mean, you know, I was probably nothing to him. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well,
maybe it was John Prine.
He's an interesting, weird dude, I think.
Yes.
I wanted to say that I like looking at I guess the first time I saw you perform might have been in Hall River Ballroom. I don't know, like a year and a half ago, maybe.
All right, yeah.
I was really, I don't know, man. I was captivated by like you performed a song that is an original of yours called "At Sea,"
Mm-hmm.
and I was just I don't know, blown away. So like, what is the process like, or what is there any story behind that song in particular that you want to talk about? Like, I think you do a great job of like doing storytelling between between each song you perform in your set, but I just want other people to learn about that, I guess.
Well, much like the music, if that all came much later, originally I wasn't at all. I would get up there and I'd put my head down,
Yeah.
would almost be aggressive about it, and
Yeah.
that all that stuff came later. And originally, then I would kind of think about what I was going to say, and then I got to the point where I just get up there and whatever happens happens. I don't know what I'm going to play, what key I'm going to play it in, what I'm going to say. I mean, there's little bits of information that are recurring because you have patterns and
Sure.
little go-tos that are good nuggets of information. But that song at sea, it's pretty much a conversation between a father and a son. They're on a boat together, and the son thinks he can change the world, and the father has seen it all before, and he expects nothing to change. But what they really are two sides of, I say me, but everybody. Some days you wake up, you think you can change things, and other days you wake up and you don't. So it's putting those two aspects of how we are into two different characters, and as a father and the son.
That hits home. Speaking as a father of a 22-year-old or 23-year-old, I can identify with that in a lot of ways.
And sometimes when I'm writing, I task myself. I don't like to go I, me all the time. So
Yeah.
it was nice for me to put it into two personalities and have them talk rather than being this is what I think. It gets a little boring when people are like me, I. I find so anyway. Depends. If it's highly emotional, it feels valuable.
So
Well, I
how,
think
how
it's
do you,
interesting to get those perspectives. To me, it's like you in popular music and pop music, you see it is very like, I don't know what you call it, selfish almost. It's just about a love story between one person or whatever. You don't see a lot of family dynamics, so that's really cool.
Yeah, well, especially now, I think as the world shifts and as the atmosphere and cultures change, we change in what we're doing. I feel like there was a period of time when a lot of art was political, but then everything got so political. I think people kind of backed off of it and start looking within again, especially with COVID and all these other things. People start looking inward and reevaluating themselves. So I think essentially the writing reflects those shifts, in culture.
Yeah.
For a while. Go on, sorry, man.
I was going to say, how do you write music? Like, do you need a quiet space? Does it just happen? Do you wake up in the middle of the night and have to write something down? How does it work for you?
I wish I had a method. I don't. I've actually dreamt songs. When I was younger, I used to just free write. I would just write, and then I would have pages of writing, and then I would try and condense it into a song. From the get-go, what I did, it wasn't even a method. I would listen to songs and rewrite the lyrics, and then I would just leave the lyrics there, and I'd forget what I'd written them to. So when I came back to them, this is when I was a teenager. When I come back to them, they were formed. They had format, and they were formed to like rhythms and sounds, and then I would add them to music, not really realizing or remembering what I had written the lyrics to in the first place.
Huh. So your lyrics come before the music then, most of the time for you? Like you have the lyrics and then you put music to it? Or do you ever have a tune first and then put...
I would always make music and melodies, but until I have a lyric, there's no song. So, I would say, the lyric would have to fundamentally come first. Otherwise, there's no song. You know what I mean?
It's funny how different so many people are that write music. Like it just happens organically for each person. However it works for you is how it works.
Well, a lot of people find their style and they stick to it. I don't feel like I'm that way. I want my next song to be different than the last. But obviously, you do it until you find your own style. And then once you find your own style, I don't know, you get a bit comfortable with it and then you want to switch it up. But I don't know, like if I write a slow song, the next one I want to be fast, or if I write a song in a certain key, the next time I want it to be different. I don't always end up keeping those songs, but that's how I am with it, you know. Like I'm not gonna sit down and write 5 slow songs in the chord of G one after the other because it doesn't interest me, you know. I'm like I've already done that.
Now,
And I also
no, go on. Go ahead.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on.
No, I was going to let you finish your thought there.
I hear music different. Like I can write a song and I can hear it in reggae or blues or country or whatever. I don't need to put much effort into that to reimagine the songs because the song, I hear the essence of the song, you know, the fundamental elements of it. Like, I don't really think about the style or the genre.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, you said before we started recording, you said something interesting that you prefer to play music live, and you really don't have a lot of recordings. How many albums do you have out there?
Released one live and one studio.
So even one of your albums is is live music.
Yeah, and it's kind of a bootleg, really, in essence. But yeah, for me, it's a thing to live. You know, everything else is just things I've either learned to deal with or tolerate or incorporate. You know, it's like I wanted to travel and play music. I mean, that's got nothing to do with sitting in a studio or talking to the industry.
Honestly, I love that so much because
right.
The biggest letdown for me is I love discovering new music and going to live music. It's pretty much the main pastime for my wife and I is just to go see live music all the time. And so I appreciate that, like, what I get from your performance is exactly what I heard when I love listening to there's a recording you have even on Spotify, but it's live, of a song called Death Dance.
Oh yeah.
And I just enjoyed that so much, listening to it just driving somewhere a week ago. And sometimes you'll hear a live performance of somebody and then you go listen to their album and it's totally different. It's like sanitized or overly produced, or dare I say, I don't want to offend anybody, but I had that experience with Sierra Farrell. Like I had heard Sierra Farrell and saw her like perform 3 different times, and then I went and bought her album, and it was just a different vibe. It was you know what I mean? It's not a knock. It's just like I enjoy the live performance so much more.
No, that's a thing for sure. I mean, I was in Nashville for years as Sierra was coming up, you know, so she was around a lot singing in all the bars. I used to bar back at a place called the Nashville Palace, and her and her friend would come over late most nights and sing.
Yeah.
She used to sing Irish songs to me and stuff. But I get that it's 2 things going on there. I think one is moving from a solo artist to being in a band.
Yeah.
And 2 is from being a traveling I won't say street singer, but you know, something of that ilk, to going into a studio where somebody else is paying for everything and you're a part of their project as much as they're a part of yours, you know.
Yeah.
I think those 2 elements maybe might be what the shift was. I mean, my record, it's I won't I mean I've gone past the point of talking down all that stuff, but I'm completely live on that entire record, you know. So like there is that underlying element, even if there's other things going on. I'm still sitting there with the guitar singing like I always did, you know. I didn't like layer it or anything like that.
That's cool. And I love Sierra's albums, by the way. I know you're more of a live music guy, Ryan, but I've seen her live twice.
Hey, I'm not knocking
I still love her albums.
Right. Well, why don't we talk about, so speaking of live, like what have like, I know you just performed this past weekend with the fellas from Brute Beat, right? With Richard Childers, or sorry, Robert Childers. I don't know what I was thinking there. But what do you have in the way? Like, what do you have coming up? What are you excited about?
Well, I got to backtrack a little. I toured a lot until around 2019, and then COVID happened, and I never really got back to it fully until last year. And I had a really great year last year, but then we had the storm, so I kind of, the last quarter of last year has impacted the first quarter of this year, and to be honest, it's probably going to impact the rest of the year. But I've just been doing bits and bobs as they come up, some local stuff, some regional stuff, occasionally getting out there. But what do I have? I'm doing a David Childers tribute on March the 29th in Gastonia. I'm doing a headline show in Nashville at the Basement, April 4th. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio at the Ludlow Garage with the Young Dubliners, April 5th. And then there's a charity gig in Hendersonville for Thrive with the Burney sisters. I know you know some of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
That would take us up till, mid-April or so. There's not a lot. March is usually, well, I say it's usually a busy time for me because of my Irishness and my culture, but in recent years it kind of hasn't been, and I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that circuit, without going too much into it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, that Hendersonville thing, yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah.
I was hoping the Bernie sisters would come back through here at some point.
They seem popular in your crowd. I didn't hear of them until the event, but ever since I see you guys talking about them all the time.
Well, they've been hustling. I mean, they've been trying to figure out what they want to do too, and they were in this big, what was it, Todd? Like a music challenge thing where it was like a tournament, like an American Idol type of thing.
It was a Shoals City Showdown. There you go.
Oh yeah, that's
down
right.
in Muscle Shoals, Alabama,
yeah.
And they won it.
Have you been down there?
Have I been there? No,
I've been down there.
I'm stuck in the north. I don't get out much.
There was a period.
This is the crazy thing, Dylan. You and I have met multiple times. I have not met Todd in person yet.
Never. And we've been doing this show together for a
we only got connected through music, but yeah, we got to figure out a time when we're going to go to some kind of show somewhere together.
Well, eventually we'll run into each other in person. Yeah.
It's funny how it's all changed. I mean, like the fact that you guys have established that relationship which you have, the way you have, like you were talking about live music, all that stuff factors into how much it's changed. Like you don't need to go and play. Like you can go and play a killer gig to 50 people, and 10 of them might remember you like 5 years down the line. But if you put a successful video online and 1 million people see it, I mean, it's no competition. You know what I mean? Like, it's like going and playing to a handful of people night after night is also not the right thing to do anymore. You got to mix the two if you can. Back it up with social media if you're any good at it. None of us want to do it, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But you got to be out there playing and in real time too. You can't buy a ukulele for Christmas and record an album in January and get popular on TikTok and never leave your house. You have to go and back it up. You know what I mean?
You do.
The real connections that people are in your life, that stays with you longer than it does a TikTok video.
There really is no shortcut, regardless of the platform. I think you're right about that. You got to put the work in.
Definitely.
And you need a hand. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of us falter. You can get momentum. You can go as far as you can go, but ultimately you need a hand. You need someone in your corner who's going to just lift you up a bit more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Ryan and I basically met through the music of the Avetts brothers. This is, the Avetts and beyond. We focus a lot on them. Are you a fan of theirs? Have you been influenced at all by them? Are you like, I don't know who they are, or where do you fall?
I'm one of those people who learned about the Avetts brothers through David rather than people learning about David through the Avetts brothers. I knew their name, of course, because they're successful artists. I told Ryan about this before. My wife knows their music, but I've learned more about the Avetts brothers from David Childers and them singing the songs than I have the other way around.
That's awesome. I love that. And David's a good person to learn about him through. Tell me about, and now you've played with Robert, we mentioned, and David, and you're doing that tribute show coming up. Mm-hmm. Tell me how much the Childers guys mean to you.
I find it hard to talk about stuff like that and get upset,
Yeah.
But they've been super important,
Yeah.
I've spent my life going around feeling like, you know, searching out what I would feel like is the source of things, you know. Like I've gone around Mississippi and the blues guys are, you know, gone around looking for reggae guys or whatever, any region of the world I've been to, and David has been the most welcoming of them all, and I'm in luck that it's I still live in that region, you know.
You're
Yeah.
right. Right.
Huge reason why I got back writing and stuff too, you know.
Very cool. Very well said. Have you, shameless plug? Have you joined the Childers crew?
Oh boy.
I'm still waiting on my hat.
Okay, well, good. There you go.
It's coming. It's coming. The orders are going to start here in March. Thank you for that, by the way.
Had to do that.
Thank you for that, man. I saw what you just did. It's incredible. You know what David's like. I mean, he's just worked and to be going through what he's going through now, knowing that, you know, he's got a bit of help coming. I mean,
yeah,
it's huge.
And his family too, you know, and everyone who knows him.
That's the thing. It affects everybody. I mean, it affects everybody around him too. So it seems like a lot, but it's I felt like it's the least we could do.
Yeah, you've done really well there.
All right.
Well, why don't we talk about your music that you want? So usually we sort of do 30 minutes of talking, and then when Todd puts on, you know, this is kind of like an internet radio show that comes out on Friday nights, and so we always play some music that you want us to play. So Todd, why don't you let's walk through the music that we're going to play and kind of give an intro for that.
Yeah. Oh, you know, it'd be nice if I had it in front of me.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you guys have no trouble with my accent.
I've been worried about it honestly all day today, but I'm good. I'm totally good.
Yeah,
well, the intersection of North Carolina, Ireland, and New York. Interesting combo here.
I feel like I've lost the flow a lot in how I talk because it's a part of my life too. I have to be a little conscious of the words I pick and how fast I say them. So it makes me stammery and stuttery a lot. I lose the flow in what I'm saying, but
I identify with that. So I think we all three probably identify with that because I've really trained my voice after recording and being on podcast and in my job, right? I've trained myself to like erase my Southern accent, but then I turn it on when I go home and see family. And I know Todd does the same, and you, right? So I wonder, like, yeah, it really does kind of mess with you sometimes.
I imagine when you go back home to Ireland, your accent must get thicker.
Yeah, and it's just everything's abbreviated. It's very fast. You don't have to say a lot to understand what the other person's saying or to have a laugh and a joke. You pick each other up very easily, you know. And I do miss that. I think being on stage has kind of taught me to maybe emphasize a little bit or slow down or pick certain words that to replace other words I'd normally use, just to make it a bit easier for me, because I mean it drains your battery trying to like communicate with people when you're failing over and over, you know. There's certain words I would use that you guys just wouldn't use, and if I used them, you'd be just like, even if you understand what I'm saying, you're just like, I don't know what he means, you know.
Well, so let me give you a chance to go full native here. Then on your Wikipedia page, it lists out your Irish name. Mm-hmm. So how do you pronounce that? Is it?
Great question.
Like, I'd be fascinated to just hear you say that.
Well, that's Bratnock.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is about so my surname is Walshe, and there's variations of that. But if with surnames in Ireland, they can be a little tricky. Walshe is a really common surname in Ireland, but the family of Bratnock would include things like Wallace. Yep. So if you think of Wallace and Walsh, they're kind of pretty similar, you know. So there's a whole family of names that come from the Bratnock family, which is what it would have been in Gaeilge.
Yeah,
but like a lot of people say Gaelic, but Irish is Gaeilge.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you were going to say the list of the songs. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, we'll go for that. We got totally, distracted.
That's usually
you gave me a ton of songs. So yeah, I was trying to find the list, and it was a much more fun conversation than watching me scroll on my phone trying to find that. So yeah, you gave me a bunch of songs. The first one is Abner J. My Middle Name is the Blues. Yeah, tell me about that song.
It just sounds like the history of music in one song. That when I heard it, I was like, this just sounds like the entire journey of music. in one song and one person. And actually, when I heard David Childers' Blueberries, I think that was one of the reasons why that song struck me, is because it kind of reminded me of that recording, not the song, but the recording.
Yeah.
Had that same feel, you know.
Love it. All right. So next up, you had Burning Spear, Creation Rebel.
Born in Spirit. I went to see Born in Spirit in the salvage station out here. I could not believe I was getting an opportunity to see Born in Spirit. I mean, I lived in London with a guy, another Irish guy. He was a DJ, and he loved reggae music, so they called him Paddy Farrai. And he introduced me to so much music. And Born in Spirit was just, when I first heard it, it was one of those voices that just sounded like it came out of a cave, you know. And I finally got to see him here not so long ago. The salvage station has been destroyed since by the storm, but it was probably, you know, we change and the circumstances change and your environment changes. In that moment in time, watching that gig is probably the best gig I've ever seen.
That's cool. All right.
But how it made me feel. I mean, it was in my bones for months afterwards, you know.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one is it just says What They Say. I don't have it.
Oh, that's Chris Smitter.
Okay.
Chris Smitter has been someone who's, you know, I moved out here. I didn't realize Malcolm Holcomb lived as close as he did. I knew Malcolm Holcomb's music long before I moved here. Out of all the guys, he's the one who I did know. And I just started listening to a lot of his music, and his music and him as an artist gets associated with other artists. So Chris's music started to come on. And I just, again, where I'm at and the age I'm at and where I'm living, it just really connected with me. And he's a total master.
Awesome. I love this guy. I'm not familiar with the artist, so I'm looking forward to listening to some of these.
That's the whole point of this. This show is
Yeah.
trying to educate people to go beyond.
Yeah.
Well, when you asked me to do a list, I just picked. I mean, I've you know, like you guys, I've geeked out on music my whole life, so
Yeah.
I know a lot of music, but
I love this because if we walk away with a new playlist, that's
Right.
mission accomplished for me.
That's a win. That's huge. Yeah.
go and see Chris if you can. He's another, like, I loved when the guys are solo. He's another guy who just, he's a total master of what he does. He's like 80 years old now, so
Oh wow.
go and see him if you can.
Okay. Next one is just a title again. Who Carried You?
That's Malcolm Holcomb. Malcolm Holcomb is the Appalachian shaman of this region. Yeah.
All right, I'm making a whole travel list from your playlist, I think.
Yeah, Malcolm, he passed away nearly a year ago now, so he's left a big hole in the landscape, as one of my friends put as Stevie Tombstone.
Mm. Okay, next song was Michael Hurley, I Stole the Right to Live.
Michael Hurley, there's a movie, 3 Billboards and something or other. Do you remember that movie? Have you seen that movie?
I think so, yeah.
And Ryan would be the one to know that.
I would be the movie guy. I've seen a lot. I've seen all the. I like
3
to say
Billboards and something or other. I can never remember the title of it. Well, some of it was filmed here in Black Mountain at the Town Pump. You know the Town Pump?
Yeah. Okay. 3.
But some of it was filmed there, and that's a song from the soundtrack. And Michael Hurley again. I mean, he's 80 something. I've wanted to see Michael Hurley for a long time. He's considered kind of outside of freak folk, however you want to interpret that. But he's coming to play here on March 26th, and I've been listening to him, so I sent you that over.
Yeah.
Nice. So March 26th, we know what Ryan's doing.
Yeah, dude. If you can go to this gig, if this gig doesn't sell out, I'm leaving this town. They don't deserve them.
All right, next one is Crass Banned from the Roxy. Banned from the Roxy.
I got mixed up with a lot of punk. Like, a lot of people associate me with punk music for various reasons, and the truth is I was never a punk, and I'm still not a punk. And I got mixed up with punk music since moving to the States, way more than I did in any previous version of my life or any other region I lived in. And it's more again from the live circuit, and maybe because of Pogues maybe, and maybe because I did a cover of the Clash Straight to Hell too. Those two things were probably what spawned it originally, maybe.
This is why you and Robert Childers get along so good, because
Right.
he was telling us how he's, not only do I associate him with that vibe, but he like, he's, I think every time he performs with somebody else, he creates a new band from it. He has like 47 band names.
He's a very immediate person, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I
Well, that can be complimentary though.
But he inspires me to kind of be a bit more like intuitive in the moment, and a bit more adventurous, and just to make something happen and do it and see what happens. Where I'm not really wired that way.
Yeah.
But
you're right. Yeah, I can see that. He likes to like run fast and break things, I think.
yeah, I think he's like this. He's just like, go and do it and see what happens, Whereas
Yeah.
I'm, let's prepare.
He just starts a band with whatever
Well,
kind
he
of
told us Gastonia was a different place. Like, it's a tricky place, and so watch out when you go do that tribute show, I think, right?
Well, about Crass are a very interesting punk band from England who. There's too much to say about those guys. You'll have to look them up, but they were a cultural movement and an art collective, and they really changed culture on various levels. And since the internet and all these algorithms and stuff, they've actually become way more known now than what they were back then. And during COVID, I dabbled in doing interviews. I really shouldn't have been doing it, but I did. And I talked to the singer of Crass, Steve Ignorant, and we've kept in touch, and we see each other every so often. But his vocals are on that song there, Band from the Roxy. It's just a very energizing song.
Cool. Can't wait to listen. Again, this whole playlist is awesome. Next one is The Unknown Immortal. That's all it says. Tell me what that is.
That's a Joe Strummer. God, I'm realizing now as you name these songs, I just picked the first things that came into my head. And you asked for 5 or 6, and I was like, I can't do 5 or 6. I'll send them whatever,
Yeah, you only gave me 9.
There's like I feel like my life is entwined in nearly every song that I've picked without me realizing it, But Joe Strummer, William Walker. There's a film called William Walker. It's called Walker, actually. There's a historical movie about a bad person but the movie is intentionally made to not tell the truth. And the soundtrack was done by Joe Strummer and a friend of mine called Xander Schloss. Do you guys know Xander Schloss? Xander Schloss is on there, and
yes, but
he co-wrote some of the songs and played a lot of the instruments on there. Xander is the bass player in Circle Jerks and a bunch of other stuff, And when we moved into our house in Nashville, I don't know what year it was, maybe 2018, we had a little like a CD player, like one of those little round units, and I had one album, and it was that album, the Walker soundtrack.
Nice.
And that song is just epic.
So it is funny how you randomly pick these songs, and here they really are intertwined with your life. You're telling these stories.
Yeah, but maybe that's. I mean, I often when I'm talking to people, I will just quote a lyric rather than answer.
Yeah.
And people will turn around to me and we're just like, "Is everything to you a song?" It kind of is,
That's cool. All right, next song was For I Will Lay You Doon. Doon? Am I reading that right?
Yeah, well, Scottish, so yeah, good.
Oh, okay.
I lay Doon. That's a bad accent, by the way, but Jeannie Robertson, a very influential. I don't know, when it comes to folk music, and especially female voices, she's just so earthy and just very soulful, but not in a soothing way. Well, in a certain kind of soothing way, but it's also she also kind of punches you a bit, And I just, when I hear her singing, I hear nearly every singer that came after her. If that makes sense. Sure. Even the guys, I can hear the guys have been influenced by her,
All right, and the last one is Wexford, Pecker Dune.
Yeah, Tiger Duck. We should do a show of me listing artists and songs and hearing you guys pronounce them.
Yeah, that would be a good show.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan, for making me read this list.
Hey, that was
Pecker Dunn is a traveler singer. He's long. Well, he's not long past now, but he's passed away maybe 10 years ago. I find it hard to remember sometimes, but he was a street performer and a traveler, and he would go and arrive at these campsites and fight people and sing songs in his banjo. Again, he was really influential to a lot of known folk singers. But Wexford is where we used to go. When I was kids, we didn't go away on holidays anywhere. We went to Wexford instead in the caravan, and that's probably why I picked that one.
There you go. It's all tied together.
Well, I used to sing that song a little bit. I could never fully get it to fit my voice. And one time we were traveling around the States. There was one year, I think we went to like 45 states in a year or something.
Oh, wow.
And I went around, I think it was Utah on the Colorado River, Horseshoe Bend maybe. And I recorded that song and I recorded a bunch of footage. And then later that night, we got in a boat and
oh no.
Yeah. Trying to figure out how to word this. We went up Horseshoe Bend and it was coming towards the end of the shift for a lot of the people who worked there. So they all sped on their speedboats, which caused a bunch of waves, which capsized the boat I was in.
Oh boy.
And everything I owned went to the bottom of the river, including all the footage of the video. And then it was pretty annoying.
That's crazy.
There was people up the top of the cliff, like looking down.
Yeah,
you wouldn't know unless like you really looked up. I was effing and blinding on me, and it was echoing everywhere. They must have been looking down, going, "What's going on down there?" We pulled up to a little sandy bank, and we pitched a tent and slept on the sandy bank by the Colorado River near Horseshoe Bend, and I lay all my stuff out there that I still had to dry, but most of what I had was gone. My phone, my green card, and everything was in there.
Oh my gosh!
My passport and everything. Don't ask me why I had them on me. It was circumstances that was unavoidable. But
someday someone will find it.
Yeah, the thing is, it was in a water pouch, but for whatever reason, I hadn't attached the pouch to anything. So it's everything's in a water pouch at the bottom of the river.
Yeah, it's perfectly safe.
Yeah, my wife.
If you're listening out there and you happen to, like, maybe you can be reunited.
Well, my wife Kristen had like some beef footage on her phone when we were just like trying things, but we were in Death Valley and things where the wind was just so strong and it was so hot. I put her up online, but my voice is just struggling. It was so hot.
So we gotta get who lives out there. Ken Whitman lives out in Colorado, doesn't he? We get Santa to go to the bottom of the Colorado River and get his stuff back for him.
Well, look, put it this way: it's not worth finding at this point now.
Yeah. Been a minute.
Might be worth something someday. You never know.
But that's the song Wexford. We used to take holiday in the caravan there in Wexford. That was kind of the furthest we went on holiday, which is like to you they'd be states, to me they'd be counties. It's like 2 counties away.
Yeah.
And so we can picture you singing that song, but we'll never be able to hear it.
I've stopped singing it too. It's there's the melody of that song is in a lot of songs. There's slight variations, but you can tell it's the same old melody, and it's in other songs that I sing actually, and other songs that other people sing.
Well, I love it. That's a great list of music. I can't wait to actually listen to the songs, and maybe I'll do like a YouTube playlist or something so people can check them all out. Because I'm not going to have enough time to play them all on the show, as I'm looking at how long we've gone already, and it's I'll be able to play a few of the songs, so we'll see. But Dylan, your social media, do you want to plug anything? People to go check out your website at least, or your social media?
Sure, DylanWalshe.com.
That's DylanWalshe.com.
I was looking at your site earlier tonight, and I saw like your live page. You have that slideshow of all those wonderful, like, you've done a great job. As a photo nerd too. You've got lots of great photos of the crowds from all those different halls you played in, and I think I saw my head poking up at that show I mentioned earlier at Hall River. I think I'm the tallest guy in the room.
Probably. I remember. I knew it was gonna be a nice room. I had seen pictures, and my wife likes to take photos sometimes, so she brought a camera, and she was at the merch stand, but she took most of her photos from the merch stand. So when I got down off the stage, I was like, "Uh-oh," you know. But then the woman who runs the venue came down and showed me her phone, and she had taken a bunch of photos. So it was the owner of the venue who took that photo where you saw yourself.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Very cool.
I've still got some on my phone somewhere. I need to get them to you because I took some of that night too.
Well, normally the bigger gig you play, especially if you're playing opening for bands who are known, there's usually photographers and press and all there, you know. That's how you end up with more photos of the bigger gigs.
Well, this has been a blast. Dylan, thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck on the road, wherever you're playing. People go see him, Dylan Walshe. Look him up. Go to the website. I'm sure all your gigs are listed on the website, right?
Yeah.
What you got coming up?
Yeah.
That David Childers show coming up on the 29th will be a blast. I'm sure there'll be a huge crowd there for that tribute show. Next time you come on, which there'll be a next time you come on, we got to have you play a song. Maybe we can figure something out to have you record something for us so we can play it during the show. What's that?
I said, don't laugh at me, Ryan.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Todd. He's like the machine. He puts everybody on the spot to perform on the show.
It's hard.
Hey, I didn't make you perform. I know.
It's hard. It's
but
hard
next time you're going to.
It's hard to find good production to sing songs.
Oh yeah,
or things like this. It just really
it's tough. I get that.
Yeah.
I've done interviews too, and I've asked people to play, and I had to wipe what they did. It was so bad.
Yeah, I've had that happen, but I've also had it somehow turn out fine. Sometimes you never know, and that's why it's tough to do. So
it depends on a lot of things. Connection, your style of music. How microphones or headphones, whatever.
Where you set up the microphone is or whatever you're using. If you're close to your phone, if you're recording on your phone, it makes it hard to. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on, and we'll catch you down the road. And DylanWalshe.com. Go check out the schedule of shows coming up. Go to Spotify, any of the streaming platforms, and get your music. It's available on there. Great stuff, and we hope to see you again soon.
Yep, you too, lads. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Dylan. Take care.
No worries.
Have a great night.
You too.